again, and welcome to Myths, Legends, Stories, and Tales with Lady Liadan. Today we're going to travel to Ireland and talk about the giants um, in Ireland. We're going to read the story of Finn McCool, the giant of Knockmany Hill, by Tomie De Paola. In olden times, when Ireland's glens and woods were still filled with fairies and leprechauns, giants too lived on that fair Emerald Isle. One of the finest of those big folk was Finn McCool, who was wed to the lovely great lass Una. They made their home at the top of Knockmany Hill. Now, as any good giant, Finn McCool had his work to do, so he was often away from home. Lovely Una didn't seem to mind, for there was plenty to keep her own hands busy, spinning, knitting, and even giving a pretty touch to their great house. Life was pleasant indeed. One morning, when Finn McCool was busy working with his kin building a causeway to Scotland, the word came that Cuchulainn was coming. Cuchulainn was a giant too, and without a doubt the strongest in that part of the world. When he walked, the very earth trembled, and with one blow of his fist, he had flattened a thunderbolt so it looked like a pancake. Oh my goodness. He was so proud of that feat that he kept the thunderbolt in his pocket. Could you keep a thunderbolt in your pocket? To show all just how strong he was. Every giant in Ireland had been given a good beating by Cuchulainn. Was that very nice? Every giant, that is, except Finn McCool. And Cuchulainn swore by the green that he would never rest, day or night, winter or summer, until Finn McCool was added to his list. He doesn't sound like a very nice giant. So far, Finn had been smart enough. He kept moving about whenever he heard that Cuchulainn was in the neighborhood. But this time, Cuchulainn was sure to get him, so Finn left the causeway and sped off to Knockmany Hill, his house, and his darling Una. "Finn, my love," said Una, greeting him at the door, "what brings you home so early from your work?" "The chance to get a sight of you, my sweet thing," said Finn, since he was as honest as the summer day is long. He added, "and to keep out of the way of Cuchulainn. He is after me." Una soothed her husband. She brought him his slippers and lit a pipe for him. She stirred up the peat fire so it would be cozy. Then she set down a huge mug of stout, cut a gigantic slab of soda bread for her dearie. "Finn, husband of mine, enough is enough," said Una, as gently as she could. "For years you've been hiking around from one place to another to avoid this Cuchulainn. Why, you even built our house high on the windiest of hills, so you'd be able to spy him a-comin'. You'll not get a moment's rest until you stand fast and face him. Aye, I'll be getting a plenty of rest. If I stand fast and he knocks me down, I don't have the heart to face a man who can make a young earthquake just with his walk, and who carries around a flattened thunderbolt in his pocket just to prove his strength." At that, Knockmany Hill gave a little dance. "He's comin'," said Finn, his face turning a fine shade of pale green. "Now, hush," said Una, "and give me time to think. Do you worry that I won't do all I can to help you settle this matter once and for all?" Una then worked a charm the fairies had taught her. She took 9 woolen threads, each a different color, braided them into 3 braids. She put one around her right arm, one circling her heart, and a third around her right ankle. Now nothing she did could fail. Next she went around to all the neighbors to borrow 120 iron frying pans. She hid them in 1 and 20 loaves of bread that she baked on the fire in the usual way. She set them in the cupboard with some bread she had baked the day before. Then she took a pot of milk and made it into fresh, wet cheese, and put it along with some white stones at the foot of the cradle she had made up. "Now, my darling," she said, handing Finn some baby clothes, "put these on and do everything just as I'm about to tell you. And remember," she said at the last, "Cuchulain's strength lies in the brass finger he has on his right hand. Now quick, into the cradle, because I hear the man mounting at the door." Poor Finn. "All right, woman," bellowed the giant at the door. "Where is that coward Finn McCool that I have been chasing after all this time?" "Well, well," said Una, with her sweetest smile. "Now, isn't it a shame? Finn was off working on the causeway when some important family affair called him away. But he'll be home by tea time, so why don't you just come right in and sit down?" Poor Finn trembled in the cradle. "See this, Cuchulain?" pulling what looked like a pancake out of his pocket. "This was a thunderbolt, until I caught it and flattened it. That's what I'm going to do with Finn McCool, too." "Tisk," said Una. "That may not be as easy as you think. Finn McCool's a big broth of a man. Why, take a look at our little baby, and you might be a-getting an idea of the strength and breadth of Finn himself." Cuchulain peeked into the cradle. "Chirrup," said the huge baby, looking back at him. "My," said Cuchulain, "what a big boy." "While you're waiting, why not have a bite to eat?" said Una. She put some loaves of bread on the table, along with a can or 2 of butter and a pile of cabbages. Cuchulain, who was as much a glutton as he was a bully, popped a loaf into his mouth and took a huge bite right down on one of the frying pans. Clang! "Yow!" shouted Cuchulain. "What kind of devil's bread is this? Here are 2 of my teeth fallen out." "That's Finn's bread, the only kind he eats," said Una. "Is it a bit too tough for you?" "Too tough for me," shouted Cuchulain. "I should say not. Just give me another." Cuchulain chomped onto another loaf, and into another frying pan. "I'll not have a tooth left in my mouth, woman. There's 2 more." Cuchulain hollered even louder. The baby began to holler too. "Hungry, hungry, hungry." "Ah, sweet dumpling," said Una, and she handed baby Finn a loaf. And because there was no frying pan in it, Finn ate it right down. "More," said the baby, and he gobbled up another loaf. "Seems a strong lad," said Cuchulain, getting a little worried. If this was a baby, the father must indeed be a bit stronger than Cuchulain thought. "Ah, yes. Why, instead of dollies, he loves to play with those white stones there in his cradle. Show the nice man, baby dear." Finn did as he was told. He picked up a stone that was really the cheese and squeezed all the water out of it and popped it into his mouth and ate it down. Cuchulain was not to be outdone by a baby. He grabbed a stone and squeezed. He squeezed and squeezed, and he squeezed as he might. He could not get one drop of water out of it. He popped it into his mouth, and with a chomp, there went the rest of his teeth. Oh no! A howl that came out of him almost broke the windows. When he finally calmed down, Cucullin said to Una, "What kind of teeth does that lad have? They must be made of iron. Let me see your choppers, baby." At that, baby Finn opened his mouth, and Cucullin stuck in his brass finger, the very brass finger that was the secret of his strength. With a strong bite, Finn McCool bit the brass finger right off. Then Finn leapt up and began to pound the daylights out of poor, weak Cucullin, and that was that. Out the door went Cucullin, never to bother anyone, let alone Finn McCool again. "Tea's ready, my love," said Una, and Finn McCool sat down with the best giant wife in the whole world, and they lived a long and happy life. The end. This is part of a larger tale, the Tales of Finn McCool. This just happens to be one little part. In fact, my name, Liadan, comes from the Tales of Finn McCool. It was a way for the Irish to tell their history. A lot of our folk tales and sagas and things like that were oral histories that over time became fantastic tales. That's all the time we have today. We'll see you next time.